You may wonder, what exactly will that jury of 7 men and 5 women deliberate over? As Bob pointed out there, the former president faces 34 felony counts of falsifying business records for allegedly trying to cover up a hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Now, normally, falsifying business records would be a misdemeanor. But here, prosecutors want to convince the jury that the falsifications are felonies because they were done to cover up another crime. What is that crime? Well, conspiracy to violate state election law. So the jury has to believe one of the following things. First, that the $130,000 payment that went to Daniels was an illegal campaign contribution because it exceeded federal limits. 2, the way Trump reimbursed Michael Cohen for that payment, well, that amounted to fraud. Those are the options. And they are some of the big questions that will be facing the jury later this week. We've reached the end of my knowledge. So I'm going to walk over to the table. We are joined now by a criminal defense attorney and Columbia Law School lecturer in law, Caroline Polisi. Caroline, thank you very much for being here. The very fact that I had to explain all that over there, demonstrates that this is not necessarily a straightforward case. What does the prosecution have to do in closing arguments to seal the deal?
That's right, Tony. And for that exact reason, the prosecution has to keep it simple, stupid, right? They are going to want to take a really broad look at all of the evidence, take a walk down memory lane over the past 5 weeks of testimony, get the jurors to remember. We heard from Karen McDougal. We heard from Keith Davidson, her lawyer, and Stormy's lawyer. We heard from AMI executives about this state election law conspiracy to influence the election. At its heart, these are business falsification charges, and so the defense is going to really want to push back hard and get really specific about the intricacies of, well, what does it mean to cause business records to be falsified, actually? I think they're going to want to home in on Michael Cohen, that big gotcha moment that Bob just referred to. Was that 2016 call to Keith Schiller, Trump's bodyguard, was that really about getting Trump to okay this deal? Or was it actually about these harassing phone calls Michael Cohen was getting from a 14-year-old at the time? A lot of testimony open for debate. The judge instructs the jurors on the law, but they are the arbiters of fact.
How important will those instructions be?
Absolutely so important. We're waiting to see what the final, issues are going to be. But for example, what does it mean to cause business record to be falsified? We know Trump himself didn't go on that drop-down menu and say that these were reimbursements and/or, the argument is that this was a retainer fee for legal services. We don't have much specific testimony of Trump saying, hey, we're going to book this in a specific way, and I'm telling you to do that. The only person we have saying that Trump did that is Michael Cohen.
How much does this come down to whether or not jurors believe Michael Cohen?
Yeah, so the defense is going to hit really hard on that, saying that in order to convict on this case, you have to believe everything Michael Cohen said. Prosecutors are going to say, not true. We have presented a plethora of evidence. Look, juries convict on circumstantial evidence all the time. In fact, there often is not the type of evidence, smoking gun evidence, that one would want, meaning a text from Donald Trump saying, hey, this is great. We're going to book these payments such that I don't have to, account for them under federal election law. We're going to make a scheme. We're going to do it this way. You don't have that type of evidence all the time. So the prosecution is going to say, we have a lot of evidence here. You don't have to believe everything Michael Cohen said in order to convict. Go for it.
So, Caroline, we know the impact that opening arguments have on a jury. What about closing arguments?
So important, because there has not been any legal arguments for the past 5 weeks. This has only been testimony. A common misconception is that lawyers get to stand up throughout the trial and say, well, this proves that proves this. Not the case. Here, it's a pearl necklace that each side is going to take strands, pearls, evidence from each of the witnesses and string them along their necklace to place on a platter to jurors so that when they get back there in that jury deliberation room, they have everything they want to check the box on those elements of these crimes.
That's a great metaphor.
I was about to say, that is a brilliant metaphor.
We can tell you're a lecturer in law.
Excellent analysis, Caroline. Thank you very much. We appreciate it, as always.